Okay, good evening everyone and welcome to Tara House. My name's John Wright and I've been asked to do the Monday nights for November, so I guess we'll see how we go with that. Now first of all, can everyone hear me clearly? Okay, if I get a bit quiet, as I move or drift away from the microphone or something, please make some signals. I mean, I've got electric ears so I'm used to not hearing terribly well. And trying to work out what's being said. But it's better if I do tend to plonk myself fairly close when I come here on Tuesday so I can hear things. Okay, so today's, I guess for some people it's a public holiday, certainly tomorrow is. And I guess usually this time lots of people are away, so first of all, thanks for coming. Now, I just what I was thinking about is, it's interesting how fortunate that we all are at this time and place. We've all got a human body. I mean, I'm looking around, some of them are as old as me or older. I'm used to a captive audience of teenagers usually, so this is a bit unusual for me. But I presume we're all relatively healthy. We have a mind that's functioning. We live in a society where we mostly don't need to worry about the necessities of life, such whether it's food or water, clean water, healthy food, healthy water, access to good medical care, access to good education, access to good social welfare. We have a lot of things in our life which we can say, we're incredibly fortunate or quite lucky. And sometimes if we think we don't have a lot, we can probably think, okay, well, let's look elsewhere. What's the human life like for other people, whether it's in Australia or I guess particularly in other countries. And I guess the moment we look at the news, it's very easy to focus on other countries, and for me the two that really stick in mind are places like Ukraine and of course Palestine, because of what's going on there. And in that situation we have people who are living in fear a lot of the time. Sometimes they don't have the basic necessities, so they've got issues with water, they've got issues accessing food, they've got issues with that being warm, especially as winter comes in Ukraine. There's a whole lot of difficult things there for them. They create a lot of physical hardship for them, and probably in many cases also emotional hardship as well. And to a large extent we're free of that. We have quite a deal of freedom in our lives, or choice, to be able to do the sorts of things that we would like. So, for example, should we want to go to a teenage party, we can go to a teenage party, although that doesn't have much appeal anymore. We want to go to a good restaurant, we've got that. Most of us probably have the finances and the opportunity to be able to do that if we want. We can go and visit our friends, we can sit and relax, go to a good movie, or we can also do things like, okay, I've experienced a certain amount of things in my life and some of these things aren't giving me satisfaction, or maybe there's something a little bit deeper in life I should be doing. So we also have the freedom to follow a spiritual path or develop ourselves inside as well, rather than we're spending our life, improving ourselves or our situation in terms of our material well-being. We can also look, okay, what about my inner well-being as well? And in this situation, especially with Tara House, I deliberately sat quiet for our beginning, and that's sort of to soak up, the calmness or the vibration or the sense of peace that sort of oozes out of this place or emanates out of this place. So, and just by trying to tune into that a bit, that sort of helps me to calm down and feel a bit more relaxed and at ease as well. So I've got that. We've got that sort of freedom to do that. And of course, I'd say in my case, I feel like I've met some incredibly qualified teachers as well, people who I feel have actualised many aspects of the teachings on the path. So they've actualised the qualities of wisdom, understanding the nature of reality. They've actualised compassion to a very large extent, or incredible extent. They've actualised, I don't need, this life isn't as important as what's coming in the future. They're not, overwhelmed by the needs of their mind being totally focused on the needs of this life only, but rather their focus is on how can I help others. So I feel I've met some incredible people like that. So for example, like His Holiness Dalai Lama would be someone who would obviously come into mind, or Geshe Doga, who's a resident teacher here. Some of my other teachers, such as Lama Yeshe or Lama Zopa, whose pictures are behind me, or Geshe Nawandagi, who was actually Geshe Doga's teacher as well, and a whole bunch of others. So I feel like I've had amazing good fortune to meet those sorts of people, listen to them, and try to remember a little bit of what they've said, and ideally try to put some of what they say into practice as well. So that, I guess, gives me an opportunity, if you like, to make some use or value of my life, which is other than just seeking my own gain, if you like, and not sort of trying to have an impact on other people. Now, having said I'm really fortunate, the other thing, of course, that comes up is, well, at the moment I'm really fortunate. How relaxed should I be about that? Can I take my time, or should I sort of perhaps try and be a little bit more energetic in trying to pursue a spiritual path? And of course, what I've noticed is I'm getting older. I look in terms of, sometime I was born, I've had quite a few of my relatives have died. I mean, my grandparents, some of them died before I was born, one about the time I was born, and I think the last one by the time I was about 16. The last of all my aunts and uncles, and both my parents came from families 4 or 5 or 6 kids. I think the last one went in about 2002. So far, I think my 14 or so cousins, I think at least most of us are still here, which is something. But I've sort of, I guess, as time progresses, I've sort of noticed that's changing. And I can certainly think of a very old friend of mine. I knew him for about 60 years, in other words, from the time I was about 4 years old. I'd go and see him when he was 80s, and his 2 comments were, I'm still here, they're bright and chirpy, I'm still here. And his other little saying was, look, the young may die, the old will die. And that was his 2 common refrains, little lessons for me, if you like. And of course, he got to about 92, and for me it was incredibly sad when I went to his funeral, because my father died when I was very young, so I had a really close connection with this guy. But the thing is, that's happened to him, and the same thing will happen to each one of us. And the reason I'm sort of talking about this is not that we really want to frighten ourselves, but more than terms of, if we start to think about, what's in store for us the future, we then start thinking, what should my priorities be in the time that I have left in this life? And I guess if I make it really simplistic, should I be working as hard as possible to get more money in the bank? Should I be making my garden really neat? Should I make sure I've fully painted the outside of my house and done whatever renovations inside? Should I make sure I've done my trip to this place or that place? Or should I perhaps be doing other things? And what we've got to look at here is think, when it comes to the time of death and what happens after, I suppose I could give you a little straw poll. Who thinks there is some sort of life after death? You don't have to answer if you don't want. Hands up if you think you're going to go to some sort of existence, there'll be another life of some sort. Okay, a reasonable number. Okay. So the thing is, should we put aside a bit of time to prepare for that? And I think it's a little bit like when you're travelling. When I was young, I was a backpacker. Lived out of a backpack for nearly 7 years. But you go to one place, you'd stay there, and you moved on. And you didn't spend a lot of energy making that backpack accommodation or hotel, whatever. You didn't spend a lot of energy making it. You kept it clean. You didn't sort of trash it or anything like that, but you didn't think, I need to make this really nice and clean, I need to improve it, all that sort of thing. But while you're in that place, you were enjoying what was there. But also, one part of you might think, where am I going next? And you talk to people on the trail, and they say, I went to this place or that place, this is good or that bad, and you get advice on that. And then you'd weigh up that advice and think, how does that match? And then you'd go to the next place, and then the next place, etc. And it's quite easy to do that for months on end or years I mean, there are some people who did that 20 or 20 years. I didn't go quite that long. But, yeah, what's happening here, there's some of the things you think, okay, what's happening in this place or this life, and what's happening in the next place or the next life, sort of thing, and making some preparations for that. And so for us, at the moment, we've got some time and leisure in terms to make preparations for our future life or future lives. Now, of course, the next question is, okay, what are the sorts of things we need to do to prepare for the next life? I guess that's a rhetorical question, but anyone want to give me an answer on that? That's okay, you do. Okay, so I guess first of all, if we're looking at progressing to the future life, we need to understand, okay, what are we first of all? So first of all, we're a combination. We've got a human body. We don't have an animal. I don't have a dog's body at the moment, or a cat's body. I don't have a body from other realms of existence that the Buddhist philosophy posits. And I've got, we're born with a reasonable degree of. We don't, for bulk of human beings, we don't have an existence where we're so overwhelmed by suffering, that we have some mental freedom. There are some human beings, if you look at, say, people, for example, caught up in schizophrenia or very, very dark, deep depression, there's very, very little mental freedom for them. And there are also some human beings who are caught up, have incredible wealth and resources, and they're caught up, I guess, with the pleasure and the engagement of that sort of lifestyle. And we're sort of in between. We've got adequate, but without the super intensity of too much suffering. So we've got some freedom there. And what we've got a human body and a mind or a consciousness or a mind stream. And this mind is going from one moment to the other. It's like a continuum, like the water and the river going past. It's moving from the one moment, this moment, to the next moment, to the next moment. And at the time of death, what's happening is gradually during that period of time, while our mind is going from moment to moment, our body, at a very subtle level, is also very, very, very gradually changing. And we can look at photographs ourselves when we're young, and it's pretty obvious we've changed. I mean, for example, when I was young, I didn't have hair this colour, and I had more of it. I didn't have a moustache. I couldn't grow one. I didn't have wrinkles or sort of dry, faded skin. I didn't have lots of sun damage from the sun either. All those sorts of things. So there's been lots of changes that happen very, very, very gradually. And because they've happened very gradually, we've sort of got used to it as we've gone along. And I can remember one of my teachers, Kashidagi, used to say that we're sort of lucky that we age gradually. Because if we'd been in a situation we sort of stayed youthful, and then overnight we woke up one day and we're old like we sort of are now, it would be an enormous shock and we wouldn't be able to cope with it. It'd be an incredible shock. And it's a little bit like if you show, say, to teenage kids, you're going to look like me one day. They don't believe you. But then if you show them a photograph of what you used to look like, they say, "Was that you?" Yeah. And again, it's very hard to put the two things together. So when we're getting older and older, unfortunately, the nature of a physical body is just like a motor car, for example. Things wear out, things start to break down, and no matter how much you service it or look after it, eventually one day something's going to happen for the body or some aspect of the body to fail. Now, the process of death is defined as when the consciousness of this life separates from the body of this life. Right, so until the conscious... So you might have stopped breathing. From Buddha's point of view, the consciousness might stay there for a few minutes or a few hours or even a few days. And perhaps some of you have had experiences where you've been with dying people where you've had that sense that person's still there for a while even though the breathing stopped. So it can take a while, depending on the circumstance, for the consciousness to separate from the body. But once that consciousness has separated from the body, it's going to go to its next life. Now, that consciousness doesn't have access to your credit card or bank account anymore. It doesn't have access to your house anymore. It doesn't have access to your car with a trailer on the back where you can carry all your possessions with you either. Now, we can't take those physical things that we have now, we can't take with us. And I know one old guy I used to visit, he was terminally ill. He used to say, I've never seen a hearse with a trailer behind it. So, yeah, I might as well use it now. So we cut the physical accoutrements of this life we can't take with us. They're going to stay behind, hopefully for our not too sad or at least appreciative relatives and friends, or whatever cause we've decided to give it to. But we go without a body, but just the imprints on our mind and the habits of our mind. So the habits of our mind are very important. And the beauty of meditation is that we can change or improve those habits. Because at the moment, we would be a combination of people have habits that, if we honestly reflect, think, perhaps these aren't so good. Like you might be slightly irritable, for example, or you might have times when you're a little bit jealous or greedy, or you might have anger, be closed-minded, inflexible. There's a whole range of possible negative habits that we possibly could have. On the other side, all of us have positive habits as well. Yeah, we have some concern for others, right? Whether it's our family members or family friends or members of our family, whether it's we see someone outside in the street who looks not well, for example. Yeah, if you look at see a cute little puppy dog or cat, I mean, you can't help but have some sort of feeling towards those sorts of things. So we all have some capacity for love and compassion with ourselves. We have some capacity for wisdom and insight. And usually the longer you live, or while your body deteriorates, at least on the positive side, you start to hopefully become a little bit, because you've experienced life, you've developed some wisdom. And when I'm talking about wisdom here, I'm not talking about intellectual knowledge, I'm talking about inner experience of what's happening here. Yeah, so we've developed some of that. And obviously what we're looking at is to try and build these habits more and more. Because these are the habits, what we have in our state of mind at the time when we die, actually becomes super important for us. Because that's what we're going to gravitate towards in the next life. So if we've got a state of mind at the time of death that's disturbed or having fearful experiences, we're going to, we become disembodied. So we don't have the anchor of this body or the physical environment around us anymore. It means that perhaps in the next life we're going to gravitate towards an environment that reflects our current mind state. So what we want is a mind state that is calm and peaceful and loving and compassionate, one that's able to let go, free of attachment. And we've built up a lot of good positive energy in our life through helping others, through being generous, through not harming others. And that sort of energy is going to come together to helpfully propel us into an environment that reflects those sorts of mind habits and energies or inner vibration that we've built up over a lifetime. So that's sort of, I guess, what where we're trying to go for. Now, I've been talking a long time. I was only meant to talk 20 minutes. I've already gone past that. Oh, well, there's always next week and the week after, or the next 3 weeks. Okay, so, so I might go another 5 minutes, then I'll stop. Okay, so, within this situation, going through our life, it's interesting now, there are people who, let me think, who set themselves up as influencers, so they can influence people. There are other people who set themselves up and say, I'm a life coach, who people can go to and get advice. Of course, if you're smart, when you're younger, you'd go and see your older relatives. And I can think of an uncle of mine when he was in his 70s talking to me, he said, he and his mate were talking about, they were farmers, by the way, and they were talking about, they had some sort of problem they need to sort out, and they couldn't work it out. I said, let's go and ask an old bloke, which is what they'd always done all their lives. Then they realised that, oh, we are the old blokes. So they were sort of stuck and had to work it out themselves. But what I'm sort of getting towards here is if we've got someone who's a good guide, that's really useful for us. Really, really useful. And then, and what we want is a person who's got more qualities than us, more wisdom than us, more concern for us rather than themselves, those sorts of qualities. And if they've got those sorts of qualities, then hopefully they're reliable for us. And then we're someone that we can obviously check them out very carefully, but over time build a relationship, listen to their advice, what they have to say, and follow their example, etc. Okay, I might stop at this point, otherwise I'll keep going on too long. Okay, so we're going to do a bit of meditation for a while, but what I'm going to suggest first of all is stretch yourself. Just give yourself a body, wriggle your body a bit, stretch yourself, because we're going to ask you to sit pretty still for about 15 or 20 minutes, and then once we're done, then we'll have questions after that. Now, is anyone absolutely brand new here? I didn't ask that before. Okay, one person. Fantastic. Oh, there's a couple more. Oh, even better. Okay, great. Okay, so with meditation, the number one thing is a nice straight back. The rest doesn't matter as much, but a really straight back. I'm not good enough to sit full lotus, but if I was, I don't have that flexibility, or I feel a bit too tight in my mind to allow that to occur, actually. But very straight back, we want the head tilted forward very slightly, we want the eyes almost closed, but just a glimmer of light coming in. We're sort of looking down the line of our nose, not particularly focused anywhere. Our hands in our lap, right hand on top of the left, and the thumbs touching. And if you look down, they'll be down above your second finger. Then your elbows slightly out from your body, just to allow a little bit of air through. And then the tip of your tongue, so you don't start drooling or have saliva coming out of your mouth, just touching the top of the back of your front top teeth. And that way, if you had the capacity, you could sit here for hours or days and your mouth wouldn't dry out, nor would you be drooling. Okay, so what we'll do is we might do some mental exercise in terms of physical relaxation first, before we sort of focus on an object such as the breath. So first of all, just bring your mind inside your body and become really aware of your body and grounded in your body. So we're trying to get out of our head. So we really want to ground ourselves in our body as much as possible. And then feel your body with a contact on your seat or the floor, your feet with a contact on the floor. So to have that physical awareness as much as possible. Now I want you to take your awareness all the way down to your toes and your feet. I want you to tighten them up, feel the tension in them, tighten them up, and then allow them to completely relax. So any sense of heaviness or tension completely drains out of your feet. Okay, now bring your awareness to your heels and your ankles, And again, feel any sense of tension there, or you can physically tighten the muscles and then completely relax and allow any sense of heaviness or tension to completely drain away and disappear. Okay, now move our awareness to our shin bone and our calf muscles, and again tighten them up, and then let go of that tension, let go of any darkness there, and allow them to completely relax. Okay, now move our awareness to our knees, any tightness or soreness at our knees, any tension, allow that to dissipate completely. Now we move to the thigh muscles and the thigh bone. Again, we can tighten them up and then allow them to completely relax and let go of any tension in that part of our body. Now we move our awareness to our buttocks and hips. We can tighten up our buttocks and then completely relax that muscle, and again let go of any tension in that part of our body. Now we can bring our awareness to our abdominal cavity, and again tighten up that part of our body and allow it to relax and let go of any tension. Now we'll move our awareness to the thoracic cavity, and again tighten it up and then allow it to completely relax. Now we can bring our awareness to our shoulders, tighten them up, feel any tension that's there, and then completely let go of any tension that we may have in our shoulders so that they're completely relaxed. So now that our shoulders are more relaxed, move our awareness to our arms and hands and fingers. Tighten those up and then allow them to relax and let go of any tension. Now let's move our awareness to our neck and our face and our head. Again, just tighten up those muscles a little bit and then relax them and let go of any tension that might be in that part of your body. So hopefully for all of us our bodies are feeling a little bit more relaxed. What I want you to do now is, we've got this, just have our awareness throughout our whole body and then have this awareness of our body being made of light. So it loses all solidity and also any darkness, any little pockets or corners of darkness, they are dissolved as well. So a body made of light and any pockets of darkness are dissolved so that they become and fill with light as well. Now what I want you to do is to imagine your body as a sphere of light, and that light represents love and wisdom. Now I want you then to visualise that sphere of light slowly expanding throughout the universe. So expanding to the people around us, expanding in this room and then beyond this room and beyond Brighton, and expanding to the outer edges of the universe. And as it comes in contact with objects, they are also dissolved into this light, which is the emanation or vibration of love and wisdom. Right, which is a pure nature of our consciousness or awareness. Now we can slowly start to bring that light back in. So we bring that light all the way back to our body and then to the centre of our heart, where we just rest in that awareness at our heart. Okay, so slowly become aware of your surroundings. And we'll finish the formal bit of our meditation. Okay, how are we feeling? Okay, good. Suppose we have to break it up with chatter, don't we? Or we shouldn't say that. Any questions from anyone? Sorry? Okay, I guess there were two main ideas I was talking about, or several main ideas. One, that the current human life we have very fortunate circumstances, and that gives us the freedom to pursue a spiritual path. The second thing is, while we have that, how long is that freedom going to last? In other words, how long is it going to be before this life comes to an end? And if it's going to come to an, because it is going to come to an end, then we need to say, okay, should we be prioritising how we use this life's energy in terms of the sorts of things we do? So that was the main ideas, and then I did allude at the end, it's probably useful to have a good to have a good guide or a good teacher in terms of doing that. That okay. Yes. I guess I decided mostly you weren't a beginner audience and I could go more hardcore on the traditional Buddhist stuff. Especially someone like Lama Zopa would speak a lot about that sort of thing. Look, I mean, the reality is all of us have ordinary jobs, and there's some jobs are more conducive, for example, than others. Like, for example, I mean, I'm a school teacher, so I get to spend my life either being influenced by or influencing some interesting teenagers. And part of what's happening in the back of my mind is I'm trying to treat them with kindness and compassion and a bit deal of wisdom. I'm also trying to give an example, educate them in terms of things like empathy and behaviour and all those sorts of things. I'm trying to help them have a better or more successful future in their life. So that's part of when I go to work. I've sort of got that's part of that's certainly a portion of my motivation. Rather, look, I'm just going to work because I want the dollars. And it's interesting. I can think of a guy he's our business manager, but he came out of the banking system. And what he found was in the banking system, while he got paid a huge amount more money, he was very uncomfortable with the ethical side of what was happening. Because it was all about making as much money as possible and very little care for customers. Whereas he said with education, the ethical side's very different. It's not about making money, it's about trying to support and look after kids as much as you can. And certainly where I work, there's a lot of kids who have a few challenges or need a lot of support. And so you're trying to work with these within your own limits of your own skill set, of course. So that'd be an example. I mean, if I'm doing that sort of stuff, of, I guess, trying to improve myself as a human being. And look, working with kids, there are lots of challenges in terms of how you may react to them and all that sort of stuff. So there's an opportunity there to improve yourself. And the other thing for myself, I pretend to do a little bit of daily meditation every day. I don't have a lot of focus. I try and come here every week just to sort of keep connected. In the past, I used to do some retreats and things. Like, for example, this weekend there was a New Year retreat with about 20 odd people that's done here, but I'd signed up for another commitment this weekend, so I couldn't do it. But I did do one earlier this year. And it's a very, very intense practice, really, really intense. But it's very powerful in terms of in a weekend you come out and you feel lighter, just because of the intensity of this particular practice. So it involves... Anyone heard of Nyunye or not? Anyone want to hear the details of it? Practice, the Tibetan word meaning Nyunye means abiding in the retreat, is the English translation. And it's done with a meditational deity, which is Chenrezig. That over there, the one with the 4 arms, so a 1,000-arm version of that. So they do a lot of visualisation of that particular deity. That's a representation of the enlightened energy of compassion. And so this weekend retreat, or 2-day retreat, is about building that vibration or energy, compassion energy within ourselves through the visualisation and also through the recitation of the mantra, which is Om Mani Padme Hum. And the mantra is like a certain vibration of energy. And we already have compassion energy in us, but what we're trying to do is build that vibration of compassion energy more by making our mind more subtle so we actually tune into it and that vibration. And the mantra helps us to do that. And the other thing is a lot of prostrations. And you saw a couple of us when we came in, we did some short prostrations. And prostrations, it's very symbolic. I mean, there is a literal side to it. You look at someone and think, what on earth are they doing? And I remember I was actually in Ladakh, and I went with some friends to Ladakhi monastery, and they started prostrating. I thought, what are these guys doing? I had no idea. But, eventually I ended up at a place called Kopan some months later, did a 1-month course there. And initially I was highly resistant, but eventually I sort of let go of that a bit and did start doing the prostrations. And from a symbolic point of view, in one respect, you're prostrating, you were showing respect to your own Buddha nature, your own, how do we say, a symbol of your own potential that you can develop, as shown by the image of the Buddha or some of these other deities here. The other thing is you're showing respect, but also it's to deal with pride. And as Westerners, I'm quite well educated, so it's very easy for me to have pride. Yeah, extremely easy. So it's a good antidote to pride if you actually have to show respect to something else. So there's an external aspect of it in terms of the image or the teacher you're prostrating to, but it's also a symbolic thing in terms of, it's also a representation of your own inner potential as well, and what you can achieve if you work at. So they do a lot of prostrations. Now, the other thing they do is they don't eat it. They take one day vows. So those vows, there's 8 of them. So there's no killing, no stealing, no lying. No sex. That's not a big. When you get old, that's not a big deal. There's certain foods you can't eat. And there's no singing and dancing, no sitting on large or high thrones or beds, that sort of stuff. And they're 24-hour vows. Things you'd commit not to do for that time. And the first day you have 1 meal, and you can drink as much as you like. The second day there is total silence. There are no meals. So it's a fasting retreat, and there's also no water. So by the end of the second day, I can do it. I'm fossilised and I can do it. The last time I did, I think there were 3 of us who were septuagenarians, and you're young. It's sort of not that. It's more your mindset whether it's hard or not. If you're committed, it's not so hard. If you're not committed and your mind's vacillating, then it becomes mentally hard. There's certainly physically it's challenging. In my case, I have to pace myself. I just have a really slow, relaxed rhythm, but I keep going. I don't stop. So the second day, no food, no drink, no talking. The no talking's easy. And then loads of prostration sets. Then on the final day, you get up super early, and about 3/4 of the way through the practice, this is say about probably an hour and a half in or hour 45 in, you get to have a drink, and then your energy starts to come back a bit. Then when it's finished, you go and you pig out and have a mega breakfast. And then you can go home or go to work, which is what I did the last time, I must admit, which made it interesting. But you do come out with, for me, it's like, how we say, it's a noticeable impact. Your mind's much clearer. Your compassion energy it's stronger. You've got more warmth in your heart. You can it's visceral, or you can feel it, and that sort of energy stays with you for a while. So every now and then Tara House has one of those. If you want to do a lot, go to France. But every year they do 108 in a row. It's only about 9 or 10 months worth. Anyone keen to sign up? I think they're starting quite soon. And there was one Lama who did come to Australia about 25 years ago, a guy called Geshe Lama Control. And when he left Tibet, he went and lived in the mountains in Nepal, in western Nepal. And he lived an incredibly ascetic life. But he lived there for about 20 years. And he did about 2,000 yunyos in that 20 years. And so he ended up being an utterly amazing guy. Really, really amazing. So it's very powerful practice. And the thing with prostrations, they're actually very good at purifying physical karma. So, for example, one of Lama Zopa's uncles, when he was a young man, had a lot of sickness. So a Lama advised him, you need to do a load of prostrations. He did prostrations for a number of years, I think half a dozen years or more. And in between, he's looking after his old mother at the same time. When she needed to go to the toilet, he'd carry her out in the back and stuff like that, outside to use the toilet. He's still alive, and I think he's almost 100 or something like that. But going from a guy who was sickly and living in a harsh environment, he was living not far from Mount Everest, I guess, or Namche Bazaar, if anyone's been up that way, at about probably 14,000 foot altitude. Really cold in winter, even cold in summer, let alone winter. And the diet's very basic. He gets potatoes and samba and butter tea. Yeah, he's still alive. But the prostrations are really potent at purifying physical karma. Things for sickness and poor health, that sort of stuff. Okay, you got a long answer. Any other questions? Yes?
I was just going to say, like, when you go on those, like, retreats and that sort of thing you talk about, and then you go back into, like, the everyday sort of hustle, like, life and that sort of thing, you find it hard to, like, remember those teachings and that sort of thing? Because, you know, when you're, like, you're back, I don't know, you're in the city, someone cuts you off, and then, like, straight back in that mentality. And also, like, people around you, like, maybe not living by those teachings and that sort of thing. Like, I could imagine, like the retreats and that sort of thing would be, like, really, like, you know, like amazing energy and that sort of thing. And,
Yes. Okay, there's a couple. If you're doing a long retreat, say like 3 months or a few years, what you tend to do is towards the end of the retreat you start to tail off and reduce the intensity of the retreat. So you can start to come out more easily. The other aspect is, to some extent, if your retreat has been successful, those things that used to be irritation should be less of an irritation. And the interesting thing is, if you come out of a retreat and you get irritated instantly, you sort of have to question, was the retreat successful or not? And I know Lama Yeshe, for example, there's a practice called Vajrasattva, and people have to recite 100,000 mantras this, and it takes about 3 months. And usually it was given to fairly new students, and it's very powerful, incredibly powerful for prostration, and also developing some understanding of karma. And what he would, by and large, insist on was that people should do it as a group retreat, because then they couldn't pretend, I'm sitting in retreat, this is really blissful and peaceful, and I'm having no problems. But in reality, they weren't really working with their mind properly. Whereas if you're in a group retreat, you're in the same environment with those people, living in one another's pockets, literally say for 3 months, you're going to see your mind, because some of them are going to irritate you. Or when you're young, you might, as time progresses, even silence, you might find, that one's attractive, that one's attractive. And I can remember one Copan course I was at, was a month, and some people kept silence for that 1 month. And I think there was a Spanish guy and another girl or something. They didn't say anything at all, didn't talk at all during the retreat. But by the end of the retreat, they were boyfriend, girlfriend. So all sorts of things can arise in retreat, and especially with other people. So especially as a beginner, doing group retreats is really, really good. Well, I mean, once you get more experienced, then yeah. And the other thing is, of course, retreat, look, it can get difficult, so you've got other people there, an experienced leader, then you've got support and guidance, that sort of thing, to make sure that you get through it, and also that you're developing from it, you know. And I remember hearing a story once, one person doing a retreat in a house, and they were very rock solid in their routine, got every day, the light went on, that sort of stuff. And another person who was in a hut further away who could see that person. And they sort of said what kept them going was the fact that this other person, they could see this person every day, regular as clockwork. Their lights went on at morning, they could see the light on at night. And they never saw that the other person was always in retreat. So that fact that they could see someone else doing that kept them going, because they were struggling to sort of, keep the determination or the motivation going during the retreat, sort of thing. So, but look, you are right, of course. If you're in retreat even for a while, you build up a certain amount of energy, and especially think like the silence in particular. If you've been silent for a while and you go out and start talking, you suddenly notice how much energy talking takes. By the end of the day, you're tired from talking. But the thing is, we're so used to it, we don't notice. But if you have periods of silence, then yeah, you do start to notice. But you are right. Yes, your energy that you've got in that retreat will dissipate, and that's part of the reason to sort of keep a daily practice, and to sort of try, if you can, be doing retreats on a regular basis. And I know Lama Yes used to encourage people to try and do a 2 months retreat every year. I mean, I'm sure some people do. I mean, I don't. I don't have the opportunity anymore to do that. Or I think of an American teacher, a guy called Reggie Ray, he spent decades leaving his family, doing a couple of months retreat every year. And yeah, I'm sure he's developed quite that continuity, the daily practice, and then that continuity. He's built up his qualities enormously over those decades. That answer the question? Yeah. Now it is 9 o'clock, so we're meant to sort of, imagine Damien's going to come in the door at the moment, sort of say time to go or something like that. Look, thanks for your attention tonight. Hopefully what I've said's been useful. To some extent, a large extent, it's more advice for me. And probably what we should do just to finish is a traditional thing with when we've done something good is to dedicate it. So we've made some hopefully really positive energy tonight. And rather than dissipate that energy, let's sort of just close our eyes for a moment and focus on how we can direct or a goal for that energy. And probably the ideal goal would be to say, look, can I become a fully awakened being and develop all the qualities of love and compassion and wisdom in order that I can also lead all other beings who may have all sorts of problems in life to a state the same as that. And that whatever qualities I have, I don't lose those, but they increase more and more. So it's sort of just we're directing our heart energy, I guess, at the moment, be one way to say what we're doing. Okay, so the usual, there's tea in the dining room if you want tea, or time to head home, that's also okay. And I presume I'll be back next week, and hopefully we'll see you again next week. So thanks everyone. Thank you very much.